Hi, what's going on out there, people? How the heck are you? You're muted there, ding dong. Good job.
I'm doing great.
We're not even 3 minutes into the show. We're already doing goofy, dumbass stuff. Awesome. Welcome,
I do
everybody.
the technical.
We're now both. We speak words. We're like, what's his name? Stu from Ice Age, the dumbass squirrel or whatever that's trying to get the acorn.
Oh, the sloth? You're talking about Sid?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no,
No.
you're talking about Scrat, the thing.
Yeah, that they always show it in the movie. Yeah, that's us.
Yeah,
That's our
Scrat.
spirit.
Yeah.
That's this show's spirit animal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Angelo. That's pretty good for doing that on the rip, man.
Come on. Don't bullshit me. You have to do better. Do better. Come on.
You said do better, and then we do the show every week, and we have to get worse. But we get worse every week. Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit you. How about that?
Come on. Don't bullshit me. You son of a bitch.
All right, we're done. Moving on. Damn, you always get me with that crap. I hate it. Love it. I seriously love it. Welcome, everybody. This is the latest and greatest episode of the Battle Bros podcast. My name is Mac. This handsome devil over here is Alamo. We are the Battle Bros. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you have been on the show before, appreciate you stopping back by. If you're brand new to the show, hey, welcome. Thanks for checking us out. Hopefully you like what you hear /see and or see ? I'm Ron Burgundy. All that good stuff.
Know what to do with your hands.
If you haven't been on the show before, we're just two wildly crazy guys. No, not really. We're just two friends that have been buddies since high school. We both ended up going on to serving in the military post 9/11. We're part of the GWAT generation, the Global War on Terror. Alamo was active duty. I spent some time in the National Guard here in the state of Florida. We're both infantry guys. So we kind of have both ends of the spectrum covered when we talk about military experiences and whatnot. And
we
what
may
we do
have
is
some on the spectrum here in just the group.
that's
as well.
probably not. Yeah, I was just thinking like he's going to make a damn spectrum reference. I'm like, shit. It's kind of perfect though, so it is what it is. But we've been doing this. This is we're drawing to the end of our 5th season. We have about 4 more episodes left before we wrap up this season. If you want to go back and check out any of our previous conversations or episodes, you can go to our YouTube channel. Just search Battle Bros Podcast on YouTube. You can go and catch any of our previous episodes 1 through 105. We cover a wide variety of topics, basically anything kind of. We kind of like to discuss the hard to talk about topics. You know, we're trying to break that stigma of being taboo. So we'll kind of explain what the progenesis of our show is when we get into the ending, when we start closing out and whatnot. So hang around, stick it out, and you'll hear that funny story. But in the meantime, if you'd like to, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell on YouTube. That way you get notified whenever we have a new episode, like right meow. But you can also find us other places as well. Alamo's going to cover that at the end, like I just mentioned. Last week, if you caught our show last week, it was episode 105. We were talking about the subject of trust and why that is a important part of the military experience and whatnot. So feel free to go back and watch that. We actually had a really good conversation on that. The show ended up being almost just shy of 2 hours. I think. Just about. Yeah. Which is like pretty good because, you know, if you see half the shit we do before we get on, like, yeah, you'd be surprised that we put on a podcast almost every week whenever we do. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
You're like, it's kind of like these two ding dongs, seriously, like, yeah. Yeah, so shut it. Anyway, we don't have anything on the news to cover this week. It was kind of a slow news week, so we're gonna skip over that shit and get right into the nitty gritty. So, in case I didn't tell you before, welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch. No, this is episode 106 of the Battle Bros podcast, and we're going to be discussing the topic of brotherhood. Now, this kind of came about in a very special way. We're going to have a guest on tonight, which we haven't had on in a while. We need to get better about booking that. So, but anyway, we were having a discussion a while back and talking about some things. And the guest who we're going to bring on is actually a repeat guest. I believe he's the first person we've had on here for their second appearance. They're going to give us kind of like some information on brotherhood and whatnot, kind of from their perspective and why that's very crucial. So, but before we get into that, we're going to have a little bit of like an introduction here. So, what, pray tell, is brotherhood? Well, hey, I'm sure as hell glad you asked. So let's talk about it. Brotherhood is defined as the relationship between brothers. Moving right along. No, there's actually more to that. It's also defined as an association, society, or community of people linked by a common interest, religion, or trade. Okay, an association, society, or community of people linked by a common interest, religion, or trade. Now, it's funny because when I was looking that up, when I thought about religion and trade, I'm sitting there thinking, oh God, they're doing that's like you should just see, you should have a little footnote that says, see the Mandalorian, religion, trade, duh. Like, absolutely, Mando.
This is the way.
Religion, which I'm like, that's cool. Absolutely. So how is that? How do we get started with that? So if we think about it, when you show up, and I'm going to kind of talk from my experiences here with Brotherhood, I had some introductions. I had some kind of like vague ideas of what Brotherhood was. Kind of a sense of belonging in a way, like, in high school when you have various opportunities to join, different organizations, being involved with like, ROTC. That's not the same as the military. I'm not trying to compare the two. It's a good precursor, kind of giving you the structure, the discipline, all that kind of crap. So you kind of had that sense of belonging and all that stuff. But then going into the military, you show up a bunch of strangers, and next thing you know, like Alamo, we were talking about this earlier this week. We were talking about, like, I asked you, like, if you still remember the name of your battle buddy when you were at boot camp, and you were like, hell yeah. What was your roster number?
I was 101.
Oh shit.
Yep. So I was like the example guy, which is why I think what happened to me, as described in previous episodes, happened to me.
Yeah. I was 340. So your battle buddy was 102.
102.
So I was 340, and then my battle buddy was 339. But I mean, whenever you go somewhere, you have to always take your battle buddy. So you have to go in a group of twos, and it's usually your assigned battle buddy. When you line up in front of your rack, you're right there on the kill zone, all that kind of crap. So, yeah. So that kind of gives you the introduction to that, and then like you get, you kind of get introduced into that, team mentality. And I would say that really kind of gets driven home once you go down range and go to your unit and show up there. You get introduced into the unit culture, the lineage of the unit and whatnot. And then especially once you go on a deployment, like I have some friends that I have still to this day. You guys have seen him on here a bunch of times, or in the comment section. War Daddy, Chuck, was my original squad leader when we were supposed to go down range. He ended up not getting deployed because of an injury and whatnot. And that's kind of a long story. If you've heard us mention that, you understand why. We had him on for the VIP segment and whatnot, so you can go back and watch that. But I mean, I'm still very much friends with him. The brotherhood is definitely there. Like, we give each other a lot of shit. Him to me more so than me to him, because he's kind of like a secondary father figure to me. At first when I first got there. Now he's more of I consider him like a brother, like a family member, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, some of those guys I served with, like, we're still super tight. I talk to these guys on Facebook or on Messenger and stuff, and we still, kind of check up on each other every once in a while for birthdays and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, it's, brotherhood is like super, super, super important. What's your, take
man.
on that, Alamo? Your experience, your take, your synopsis of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, really, I mean, honestly, I kind of adopted brother figures, throughout life, no matter what walk of life it was, whether it was military, high school, whatever.
And why is that?
I don't know. I mean,
oh no! I know. You grew up in a house full of women. You damn right. You could adopt some brothers.
I did. I grew up with nothing but women. I have a brother, my brother Hector.
Can I say something really messed up? Like,
what's up?
Statistically, growing up with, like, what, 3 sisters, your mom,
mm-hmm.
There's a good chance you could have ended up as being gay. Like, and when you're joking around, you're like, you do it so well. Like, Jesus.
Like, geez, stop. So,
folks, this is a live show, and I just let the intrusive thoughts out of my mouth. So
he surely did.
There you go.
But yeah, like, so, my brother,
these fatigues are just not flattering at all.
They're just not. They don't flatter your thighs. Broke him. But yeah, no, at a certain point, after I moved away from New York, my brother, he was up north. So
I forget you have a brother. Yeah, Hector.
Yeah, my brother Hector. Yeah. So after a little while, I had no brother, to like really be around consistently. So for me, it was kind of a natural thing for me to, once I get around other guys and, be with friends and stuff like that, I automatically just like, once I'm close enough to them and have built that trust, that's where it goes. You know what I mean? Yeah, at least for me in my mind. So for me, it was actually very simple to establish, kind of like a brotherly kind of like secondary family kind of relationship with a lot of guys, including my military buddies. It was actually fairly simple for me to do that, just because, I missed having that, kind of brotherly relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I adopted, brother figures throughout pretty much a vast part of my life.
See, and I kind of did something similar when I was at basic. I was 19 when I went through basic training. I don't know what's going on, but like, I can't like talk without getting like a frog in my throat. It's just awful.
Yeah, whet that whistle. I have an excuse. I was in the sun for like 3 hours.
Whet your whistle.
Yep.
But we had 2 guys. Now, mind you, this was 2003 that I went through basic. We had 2 guys that went through that were at the upper age range of being allowed to go through basic. One guy was like 33, and I think one guy was
standard
34,
at least for back then.
One of them was a guy who worked for the Ford Motor Company. He's from Detroit. His name was O'Neill, and then the other guy, he had the best name. His name was Harold D. Nutt. Harry D. Nutt. And we called him Buster. Busta, yeah. Fucking great.
Bust a nut.
I tried to pal around those guys when I could, just because they're older, they're wiser, they're not doing that young guy freaking
Yeah, they're in it.
bullshit.
They're in it to get through it, and they're gonna get through it because they've been through enough.
They're
At
not
this
playing
point. So it's
fuck
like,
games on the grab ass at the
eh.
barracks. I don't do that shit. Like, just get the fuck
Yeah.
away from me and leave me alone. So I
Yeah.
kind of did the same thing too. But also, like, when I got to when I got to my unit, when I got to Charlie Company, it was kind of a weird, because like we spent the first year that I was there just kind of like rear echelon, rear detachment type stuff, because everybody, like our guest who's going to be on in a few, they were in Iraq. So like we just, all right, show up the drill, we do battle drill 1 alpha, woohoo, and we go. So once we actually got our unit back, we actually
When I
got
got to
pretty close.
Lewis, we were rear D2. They were just getting back.
Yeah. We so the guys that were kind of like in, that were coming into the unit while the battalion was deployed, like we all kind of got pretty close. We had to do, once the battalion came back, and I feel bad because those guys came back from Iraq in like 2004, and they immediately got called up for state active duty for hurricane duty. I'm like, oh, that sucks. So,
Yeah.
but we got to know some of those guys, and they're great. Most of them are pretty good dudes. There's some of them I'm like, I could do without. And then like when we went downrange, all those guys, like I tried to connect with as many of those guys on Facebook as I could when I joined Facebook, like 6 or 7 years ago. I'm actually, no, it's like 8 or 9 now.
Yeah,
Whatever.
you were behind the power curve.
Oh, story of my life. So, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, you definitely, that's definitely something that gets established pretty quickly, and it's also, I would venture to say, something that's extremely crucial to guys like ourselves, you, me, and our guests we're going to have on, because we're all frontline combat troops. At one point, we were all 11 series infantry soldiers and whatnot, and you got to have that tight knit kind of camaraderie, that kinship, because you never know. I mean, things could happen. You might have saved your buddy's life. They might have saved yours. You could get in some really heavy shit that you got to lean on each other, when.
Or one of you may not make it out.
Exactly. One of you may not make it out. So, but the other aspect of that too is, once you leave, a lot of guys, like they say, that's the first thing that they kind of miss. Once they left. Now, yes, do you keep in touch with people? I would like to think that most people try to keep in touch with folks as best they can.
Yeah.
Life happens. You fall out of touch with people. That's not unexpected. It's not exactly planned, but things just kind of happen. When I got on Facebook and reconnected with these guys, they were like, dude, where the hell have you been? I'm like, I was on Facebook. They're like, wow. It is so good to hear. And it was like, it's just one of those things, man. When you got Brotherhood with people, it's like you guys haven't talked in 10 plus years, and you pick up a conversation that you had when you came home, when you left the military, and you picked up the same conversation right where you left off without skipping a beat. Like, it's just fan-fucking-tastic. And a lot of people kind of give folks in the military a little bit of shit about it, because they're like, you guys just act different. I'm like, you don't understand the context of this. Like, you pretty much, you don't just write your blood type on your boots and your undershirt because it's cool. You do it because it may come a point where you might need that information to save somebody's fucking life.
Correct.
So, but anyway, so in discussing this topic, kind of to bring it around full circle, our good friend that we're going to have on here in just a second was asked if he could come on to kind of give some a little bit of a further kind of evidence and credibility to our topic tonight. So we were like, hell yeah, man, absolutely. So if you would do us a favor of welcoming back the first repeat visitor we've had on the Battle Bros podcast, and also as of earlier this week, a brand new certified. Hey, there's War Daddy. His name, his ears went, somebody's calling me. Holy shit. But our guest is brand new, just got passed the certification exam to become a licensed mental health counselor. We just got to wait on getting all the paperwork and stuff in and all that good stuff. So if you would please welcome back our good friend Brian. Brian has been on the show before. Hey, there he is. He's also, this is one of the guys behind the scenes that helps us out when we need some context and like, what do we want to talk about? Oh, you should talk about this. That's great. What the fuck does that mean? Look it up. Okay, cool. Brian, how the hell are you, man?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing really good, man. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, he called me brother. Good show.
Hey, real quick,
Indeed.
because as I was listening to you guys do your high-speed intro and stuff like that, man, y'all mentioned roster numbers. I was roster number 109. There's my boot.
No kidding.
And I was Bravo 258 in Fort Benning. And it made it, you can barely see it. It's still in white marker that says 109. So if we wear boots in the middle of the floor, we know
LPCs, leather personnel carriers. Look at them shits. Wow.
Yeah, these things, they're making my eyes water right now.
Oh god, dude, those boots sucked to break in, but once you did, you were fucking golden.
They're like tennis shoes.
Stand in a bathtub. Stand in the bathtub and just let the water soak the leather.
So
and just rock back and
they
forth.
gave me the wrong size somehow. So I had like halfway through my basic training cycle, I had to break in two brand new pairs.
Oh no, that's not good.
Fuck my life. Holy shit.
So I won't get off too far on boots, but when I was giving my Bellevilles on the way to Iraq, same thing. But then we can move on past boots because we'll Geardo out.
Bellevilles are like the best boots. I love Bellevilles, man. And
I like Bellevilles too.
They just the summer weight. I
think everybody had at least one.
Oh yeah. I never wore the winter boots. I still got a brand new pair of winter issue boots in my Tough Box. I wore my summer boots, but I would wear like the mop suit over boot over top of that. Because like that desert sand turned into like that chalk, that concrete shit when it got wet. Oh, and you try to chisel that. You're sitting there like outside trying to chisel that off your boot. Yeah. Fuck that. I quit.
That kind of mud that when you step in it just kind of makes that.
Yeah, and you get that suction noise. Yeah. But they make those boots in black, and I'm like, ooh, I would rock those all the time. Those are awesome. So, Brian, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show, man, and giving us a little bit of a further how should we say credibility as a show to give us some contextual information about Brotherhood. So I know this is something you were kind of you heard this and your ears perked up and you're like, I can talk about this. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So what you got, man? The floor is yours, my good sir.
So listen, just to let your followers know who I am again, right? So my name is Brian Ellis. I was in the military from 2001 until 2018. I medically retired. I busted a vertebrae in Afghanistan. That pretty much ended my career. But like these two young men here, or Mac anyway, I was a guard guy. I was a guard guy for about 6 years. Then I came out of the IRR. And entered into the reserves, deployed to Iraq, deployed to Afghanistan. I loved it, man. I love the military. I mean, talk about brotherhood. There's guys that I met 25 years ago. They're 23 years ago. I correct myself here. That I'm still in contact today, and we have conversations. Let's hours at a time.
Let's take it easy with the numbers, dude. We're aging ourselves.
I hear you, buddy.
Throwing that out there,
dude. I don't want to like. I'm sure you've already reached it, but I'm like, this year is my 20th anniversary of joining.
Oh wow! Yeah.
20 years ago, July 4th this year, I left to go to Afghanistan.
God.
No kidding. Yeah. It's amazing when the brain doesn't really, it's not really good with time. You know, we're so busy in our daily lives with our kids, with our work. You know, we really don't think about time until we stop and we're like, oh my God, that was 22 years ago.
Yep.
Right. And you're like, oh man, what has happened since then? What have, how have I matured? What have I exceeded at? Have I reached my goals? I mean, have I take 20 steps back, and am I currently working my way back, back to where my original short-term goal was? But yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So going back to what I was saying, I really wanted to come in here and talk about Brotherhood. One, and I'm Mac, you're going to kind of steal the show. Sorry, Alamo, a little bit. Listen, for all your listeners out there that are struggling,
Not on purpose.
Just listen to me for a minute, okay? As Mac said, I just passed my exam to be a licensed therapist. I've been on a 10-year journey. Okay, I started school in 2013. It didn't take 10 years to go through school, but it took about 6 years of focusing on my degree program, which ended up being psychology. So bachelor's in psychology, master's in psychology. I had to do a 2-year post-grad internship and then a whole bunch of exams and a big state board exam to get where I'm at today. But during that time, I had a lot of struggles. Like a lot of us, I struggled with alcoholism. 20 years ago, if you said the word PTSD, somebody would call you a bitch, or somebody would tell you that you're faking, right? Coming from a mental health professional, PTSD is real. I was not somebody that would even talk to you about my feelings or trauma or what I experienced 20 years ago. When I came home from Afghanistan in 2012, I really didn't want to say anything to anybody about my emotions or my feelings or what I experienced. But my ex-wife said, you better get your ass to the VA and go talk to somebody, because you have profoundly changed and you're not the person that you were a year ago. And that's kind of where Mac comes in, right? So Mac and I met.
I didn't do it.
Mac and I met 2004.
2004, you guys had just come back from Iraq. You were at the Armory on Fern Creek Avenue in Orlando. And my guys were all the guys that had gotten to the unit were all, I think, 3rd platoon. You guys were in 1st or 2nd. And we're like, you guys came back. You guys are still rocking your desert camis. We're like, oh, shit.
Yep.
These are the guys just got home. So, yeah, that's when we first met.
So Mac and I really didn't hang out that much at the unit. It wasn't until I found you at the gun shop, right up the road from the house. He was working at the gun shop.
It was the gun shop, and then I think it was also, you were still working at Advance at the time, and I came in to get some brake pads, and I was like, oh, hey, I know you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. We kind of reconnected then. But then, going to the gun shop, we just started BSing, and we had that common bond, that commonality of being in the same unit together. We didn't serve in combat together. We really didn't serve that much in the unit together. But just being from the same unit, being in the same branch, being in the guard, we had that commonality. And then that went from BSing at the gun shop or the auto parts store, to coming over to the house. I used to have really, really, really big parties. Really big. Really,
yeah,
really
you
big
did.
barbecues.
Yeah, you did.
True to being 11 Bravo, they were slightly wild.
That barbecue, oh my God. Jesus, dude.
So are we talking like all like the baked beans platters and all this other good stuff hanging out all over the
beer brats,
brats,
like all the goodness. I'm just like, I would never thought as a straight man going, Brian, I love putting your meat in my mouth. So
oh God, you had to go there, didn't you? It's for another conversation, man.
Awkward.
But I tell you, I mean, those parties were awesome, right? Those get-togethers were awesome, right? And that was kind of the start, right? Those are the building blocks. Everything that we discussed so far are like the building blocks of Brotherhood, right? Right before Afghanistan, things got a little rough. Things got a little rough at home. I was going through some stuff at work. I started drinking excessively. I think there's probably another word for that. I was drinking way too much in excess. But I tell you, if it wasn't for people like Mac, right, it'd be like, hey, dude, what are you doing? Maybe things could have been, it would have turned out a lot different. And that was before the deployment.
Yeah.
Right. Just knowing that you got buddies is so important. If you're isolating at home,
Yeah.
Right. If you're sitting at home and you're watching the TV or you're watching shows like this, but you can't pick up a phone and call somebody, man, you got to think about why not. Right. Facebook is great for linking up with your buddies that are across the world or across the country. But who can you call right now that can come to your house? If you're going through some shit, who can you go for a Jeep ride with? Mac and I used to go for Jeep rides for hours. All right, who can you do that with? Who can you go to the movies with? Who can you sit down and BS with?
Hashtag coping with COVID.
Right, or go through your I love
Yeah,
me
no
book
kidding.
with, okay.
Jesus.
But
How many hours have we spent driving around in the middle of the night in a Jeep? Probably close to at least 100.
So I tell you, and that was kind of really the start of how our relationship and our friendship, I mean, really, really cemented itself, right? And talk about brotherhood. I mean, I was a whiny bitch for a long time, right? I got sober. Yeah, I know, right? I blubbered a little bit, like we all do. I broke down a little bit. But Mac always was there to let me be who I am. And he never judged me. And I think that's probably the most important thing. And that's what I think a lot of us are missing in life. And that's part of brotherhood, right? There's always that rubbing. You're always going to give somebody some shit. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There's going to be some ribbon. Absolutely. You're going to be ribbing on a dude. It's like, right. You know, like Alamo and I get on here calling each other asshat and douchebag and fuckface and all that. Yeah. All that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to, that's part of the love. That's part of the love.
You'll get served a good shit sandwich from time to time.
Yeah, you will. But the most important part of it, though, is you don't turn your back.
That's right.
You don't turn your back. Yeah. And if you know somebody's going through some shit, instead of berating them for the shit that they're going through, or blaming them and telling them, well, you did this to yourself. It's amazing what happens when you don't do that, and you just be like, "Come here, buddy. What do you need?" Right? What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, in my case, like, dude, like, how many times have we traded favors for each other? It's like, you know, like, who cares? We lost count. It's like, if you need help, it's like, I'm not even trying to, like, you know, like, I got to the point, I think, like, I owed you a couple of favors, and I was just like, who fucking cares? Like, I get to hang out with my buddy, and, like, we're going to do something goofy, or it's going to, you know, it's like that song, time to do some sketchy shit, doo-dah. Like, you never know. It's like, it's going to be, it is, you know, it's going to be fun. But at the same time, it's like you get to hang out with people that are just, you know, good people. And, you know, yeah, if you didn't give someone shit, you didn't. Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
So I think Brian got frozen. He hasn't moved. So we're going to just kind of tread water here. Oh,
that's okay. Well,
he'll be back.
He just dropped off, but he'll be back.
He'll be back.
We got him.
But yeah, I mean, like, with Brian, like Brian and I do, like I had gotten into a car accident, a little fender bender, but I had a little bit of damage to my car, and we were out in front of my. No, this is the car before that. I got a little bit of a little accident, had some front end damage and stuff, and like we're in the front of my car, and we're in the front of my house, and like we've got a tow strap, and we're just trying to like the support frame and stuff. Like we got a tow strap to the freaking to the tree, and we're trying to just like straighten out. It's kind of like backing up my car against the tree and stuff, trying to straighten it out. Like doing that, and like, you know, he's helped me get like parts I need for like I had to replace a fuel pump in that car, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, man. Like I got you." You know, and that's the kind of shit you do for somebody when
Yeah, man.
you've got that closeness. I mean, same thing with you, dude. It's like we're 100 miles apart, but like, dude, we can call each other anytime, like we said.
Yeah.
Um, we've had these conversations about all kind of craziness.
And if it really comes down to if the rubber needs to meet the road,
He'll be right back. He said his phone overheated. Yeah, because he was running on his phone, so that's what happened.
Okay.
So it's all good. But yeah, I mean, and I think it's such a wonderful thing. Like it's kind of a confusing thing to those that don't know it. Like I have, like you mentioned, your brother Hector. I have two brothers. One has passed. My younger brother is still here. So, it's one, it's just kind of a different relationship now that we're older. My younger brother just got married this last year. My older brother,
he got married
passed.
on a boat. On a boat. I wanted to go. No? Was it?
Oh,
Or was it supposed to be that way? I can't remember.
it was supposed to be. It ended up not happening. There was some other stuff, but they got married at the courthouse. But it was still nice. It was wonderful. I mean, it was small. It was intimate. It was what needed to happen. So it's all good.
Sometimes small and intimate is all you need.
Sure, absolutely. But don't make it weird. But and you did. Yeah, we went there. But so like with my older brother, it was always a slightly different dynamic because he was 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
So it was I mean, we were brothers, but like he was just such a different point in his life. I was in
it's tough to relate when
at times it was, yeah.
Sometimes,
At least with my younger brother, like we actually spent a year in high school together. So like, he was in your class, so you guys were 3 years behind me. So we at least had that 1 year together. We got to do like marching band stuff together, which is fun. So that was good. And even though I'm pretty close to my younger brother, like there's other forms of brotherhood that kind of exceed that in a way. Like guys that I went overseas with, like my buddy. Hey, there's back. Hey, buddy.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
I can. Yes.
All right. So I'm so sorry. So our wonderful technology today, my phone overheated and shut down.
Hey, so Withers said hello, by the way. That's War Daddy that we're talking about, Sergeant Withers. So
gotcha.
Yeah, he says hello. But anyway,
hello,
so we were talking about how I was kind of alluding to the fact that, like, I have two brothers, a younger and an older. My older brother passed not even 2 years ago, but at the same time, it's like there's a different form of brotherhood that in a way kind of surpasses that. Like, guys that I went overseas with, I'm a lot closer than some of my own family members just because of the experiences that we've had. I mean, when you kind of have the experience of like, hey, we're in a third world country, we could get blown up, shot, bombed at any fucking time. It's like you kind of get close with these guys because you just don't know.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So if you want to expand on that, my man, please feel free.
Well, yeah, and listen, I completely and totally agree with that. Like I was saying when I did my little intro thing, I mean, I have buddies of mine that I deployed to Iraq with. That I mean, they're going to be their lifelong relationships, lifelong friendships, and if they call me right now, I'm going to do what I can do to drop what I'm doing and go help them. Because that bond that we created when we were suffering together, right? When we were cold together, wet together. When we were thinking that
this knee deep in the suck.
Yeah, or be it, it's 120 degrees and you're patrolling in the middle of Baghdad with 50 pounds of gear on, and you're like, dude, I might pass out. Just keep pushing.
And of
Yeah,
course,
I mean,
back then we didn't have the Gatorade packets. We had
right.
those packets that are like salt water, like with like They say it tastes
Electrolytes.
like
That's all.
Gatorade.
Mhm. Yeah.
No,
And I'm
no, it
Gandhi.
Yeah.
Only thing I have in common with Gandhi is a bald head, large nugget.
Mhm.
So
didn't.
But going back to what we were just discussing, though, I think, and I always kind of go towards the mental health stuff, man. It's just what I've been doing for the last 10 years of my life. But I think it's so important that
It
you
tastes
remember
like this.
you remember who your brothers are.
yeah.
Oh my
Because I think a
god.
lot of us we feel so lonely because we're not in the vicinity of our brothers,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think that's something to note, because brotherhood, it doesn't go away just because you're in a different state, different time zone, different country. If you listen, if you can't see your brother, that's I get it, but you could pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, hear somebody's voice, man. But Mac, going to because I'll keep going there. Going back to brotherhood and being deployed. You two watching you two joke with each other. That's the thing I miss the most.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you're working in a professional environment, or you work at a mechanic shop, or you work at Dunkin' Donuts, I don't give a shit. Like the things that we do to each other, right? The things that we say to each other, the pranks that we make, the antics. God, I think that's the thing I miss the most. If there's anything that I missed about being in the military, is the locker room politics and the locker room comedy. That it's
Yep.
no holds bar. There's no fucking rules. Fuck people's feelings. Fuck your fucking feelings. And we're just it's brutal. It's fucking brutal, man. And and that's why, God, if you really think about how fucking miserable people are nowadays, it's like they can't fucking take a joke.
That's
So
right.
No.
Yeah.
one of the things that you learn really quickly when you're in the military is that you have to have thick skin. You have to be able to take a joke. You can't take shit so fucking personal, right?
Yeah.
You really have to be able to joke, and I think that's one of the things I miss. That's part of that brotherhood, because that's really part of it. The ribbing, and the antics.
Hell yeah,
Oh
Daddy.
my God, the shit that we used to do to each other. Oh, you go to jail now. They put your ass in Leavenworth. Now with the current environment, or the environment that was a year ago,
Yeah.
you would have went to fucking Leavenworth for the shit that we used to do.
Back in our day, it's like we had to put up walls, so even though you're in the stand next to your brothers, you're not staring at each other's wieners and stuff.
Facts.
Hey, dude,
We
can you
built
wear
the
pants
hooches
when you
this
sleep? Put some pants on when you go to sleep, bro. Seriously? Fuck,
It's
man.
like, you wake up, the guy across the halls, just, or not even across the hall, across the hooch, is like stretching, and as he's standing up with like the thing just like just dangling there. You're like, oh, Jesus, God. Put on some underwear, dude.
You wake up and you turn over and your buddy's brown eyes staring at you. You're like, what the fuck? Are you serious right now? Oh my God, man. So listen, another reason why I wanted to come on here, though, is I wanted to talk about Mac specifically, and I talked a little bit about it before my phone shut down. Is Mac is a really, really good example of
who flushed Frank's
a brother.
Hey, Ellis.
Here. Huh?
Hey, Withers asked. Withers just asked a question. He said, "Who flushed Frank's phone down the shitter?"
Oh boy,
somebody flushed Sergeant Frank's phone down the shitter.
That's funny shit. Wasn't me.
Anyway, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good, man. You're good. But again, I want to talk about Mac and use Mac as an example.
Stop.
Because again, I was in a really rough shape, right? I was in really rough shape. I was an alcoholic for a long time. Then I got sober. And once you get sober, all those emotions that you're drinking to bury come up. Mac he used to come over 2 or 3 days a week. We'd go for 2 or 3 hour Jeep rides. And then fucking COVID happened. And if anybody here has ever gotten sober and then went through COVID, well, good, most people relapse. So because of Mac, because I was able to drive around with him for hours because he came over and we fucking bullshitted and watched TV, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, not only did he keep me sober, but he kept me alive. Okay. And I think that's extremely important, but that's part of the brotherhood, right? That's part of the brotherhood that is developed through our service, through our connections, the experiences that we share. And I think that's extremely important to note. We talk about 22, right? 22 of us commit suicide every day, right? Right. And I think this conversation needs to be part of that.
Yeah.
Right. Because how many people, I deal with this professionally, clinically. I deal with a lot of suicidal ideation, suicide attempts, things of that nature. But the vast majority that I work with that have wanted to commit suicide, they're completely and totally isolated. There's nobody there for them. There's nobody there to rally around them. There's nobody there to accept them. They have backed themselves into such a corner, and they have shut the lights off and shut the door, and nobody's calling. Nobody's knocking on that door, right? And I really believe that, especially for those of us that were NCOs or officers, listen, call your soldiers. Don't fucking text them. All right? Don't get on Facebook. Hear their voice. Call them. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how their life is. I tell you what, you want to save a life today? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's my piece tonight. All right. That's part of the brotherhood. The brotherhood never dies. It never dies. If you want to lower those numbers, you're still think like an NCO, still think like an officer. Take care of your soldiers, or your Marines, or your sailors, or your airmen. Pick up the phone. That's what we need. We look at Facebook all day. We look at social media. We look at text all day. We don't hear voices all day, and we don't laugh anymore like we used to laugh. That's what we need. That's what needs. That's what the brain needs. We need to heal, and that's how we're going to heal. All right, that's my piece, man.
An interesting thing you brought up, dude. Thank you. I appreciate you saying all those kind words. I'm sitting here just like cringing. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. He's talking nice about me.
It's okay. You're a little, but it's okay. Yeah, very good.
I appreciate that. But I think, but another interesting facet of our brotherhood is just the fact that it's connected on so many levels. Like, I'm gonna call attention to one of the rules that we have. So when Brian and I get in the Jeep, he's, a lot of, so, with Brian being, a mental health counselor, myself being a therapist now, we get in the Jeep and it's like, hey, no work shit. We're not talking about work stuff. Talking about cars. We're talking about guns, and we're talking about broads. Like, that's it. We're not, if it's not one of those three, chuck it. Not doing it.
So I'm going to add to that, though. There are some times that we do have an event session.
As well, yeah.
That's true. We do. Sometimes we have that fucking decompression, like this motherfucker. You know what this motherfucker did? But then it's over.
You kind of kick open the lid of Pandora's box and you quickly shut it back up. All right, we'll let it off.
That's right. Yeah.
But that's important too. I mean, you got to be able to have that conversation. And I've had those conversations with him. I've had those conversations with you. I mean, you got to be able to have it. And especially
so.
Go ahead.
No. I was thinking because I want to get Brian's perspective on this.
Because
obviously, doing his masters, all that good stuff, and working in this stuff. There's, you mentioned earlier talking about how phone call, getting to know each other. Like I noticed, like in our generation, like it feels like we're the most connected we've ever been, but it's also the most disconnected we've ever been.
Well,
Right
100%. Yeah.
now, I like myself and Mac. We've often talked about it, and we want to do an episode about it at some point. But like we've talked about how there's this differentiating factor that somehow allowed World War II veterans to stay more connected than yeah, no, I agree, War Daddy. um the like allowed them to stay more connected um than I think we right now can ever be. And I think it's because of that one thing that you were talking about, like the officers, the NCOs, they all kept up with the guys, but they were all doing it probably via, the only the way they could was via phone call, or via letter, and if they got a letter to one of the guys, like, hey, send me back your phone number, and bring, they would call them up, like, I don't know, like, what do you think?
No, I 100% agree, man. And to go even further with that too, and it's not just about the letter or the phone call too, but a lot of those conversations were face to face.
Yeah.
A lot of guys visited each other. They worked together after the war. How do you think motorcycle games formed? You all know that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Motorcycle clubs.
Elaborate
clubs,
on that.
right? After the war, all those guys that came home that didn't have somebody, man, that didn't have a wife, or they came home and Jody was in her fucking bed, right? They formed clubs, car clubs, motorcycle clubs, flying clubs, right? A lot of them stayed in the military, but they had to. They were together, right? They had one-on-one conversation. They had group conversations. The VA didn't exist back then, guys.
Right.
Right. It did, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
Do you think
it really didn't help to the extent that
it probably should?
But we need that one-on-one time, that conversation time.
Yeah.
But it's not the ribbon's okay, but it's the non-judgmental shit is what we need. Right? We need the non-judgmental shit. Listen, how many times, Mac, have we talked about our careers and how we wanted them to? Maybe we're not proud of something that we did when we were in the service, right? Maybe our reputation isn't what we want it to be as when we left. Like, for you listeners out there, for those guys that you call shitbags, are those shitbags still alive? What's going on with those kids? Right? What's going on with those guys? Those guys would have died for you. I want you to think about that for a minute. Those guys would have died for you. Shitbag or not. Right?
So let me ask you this question, Brian. You talk about having like some of that connection, that one-on-one time. What do you feel about like these organizations that are like, veteran organizations like the American Legion, the VFW, for like our generation? That you got like the IAVA, which is the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. What are your thoughts on that?
So I can't speak to any organization outside of the Legion, the American Legion. All right. And AMVETS. And I'm part of American Legion, but I don't go, to be honest with you, because I'm sober. And when you go to American Legion, it's a bar. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. I've gone with my dad up to AMVETS where he goes. That's a bar. So I don't go frequently. I've actually talked to a friend of both Mac and I. His name's Chuck. He's an old cannon cocker. He's a crusty old fucking cannon cocker too. He got out of the army in like 91. So he's crusty as shit. But so he's a director for one of the American Legions in Lake City, and him and I have had many conversations about this because his lodge is full of mostly older guys, right? We'll say Gulf War and prior. The younger generation, like you or I, like we want to go smoke and drink beer and play slot machines, you know. So in their lodge, they're getting ready to make a game room. They're trying to attract younger vets. They're going to make a video game room, you know, but I hope that works for them. You know, I think it's important that we get involved in something. I really do. I think it's so important that we get involved. All right. If you're still taking a break from your military life and you're like, dude, I was in the military for 25 years. The last thing I want to do is talk to somebody in the military. I get it. Right. If you don't want to be around other vets, be around somebody. Be around something.
Yeah.
Okay. Be around something or somebody. But going back to, because I'll go on a tangent of that again. Going back to the AMVETs, and listen, if you have that desire to continue to be a part of the brotherhood or the sisterhood, to be a part of the service, the military service, and the community, then yeah, you know, find something that works for you. All right. AMVETS, VFW, the American Legion, like Mac was saying, the Iraqi and Afghanistan Vets Association or something.
It's IAVA, the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. It's actually one that I'm kind of, you know, found out about and kind of signed up for because I was like, it's something I can relate to.
Yeah.
You know, like the only connection I have to American Legion was my grandfather. My grandfather was in the American Legion post in Zephyr Hills. And he actually, you know, and that's something that I've got his certificate and his plaque. He actually was awarded Legionnaire of the Year because he did a community service project. Basically, he took these, like, he would take crossword puzzles out of the Daughters American, yeah, that stuff. DAV is a good one too. But he would take like crossword puzzles out of the paper and he glue them onto a piece of cardboard and put like something like some cellophane or something over it, and you could do it with like a marker or something, and he would paste the answer on the back. So that way you had something to do sitting in the hospital, and if you ran into one of your buddies, you could just kind of like trade these back and forth. I mean, this is before smartphones and all this kind of stuff. So this was like pretty like good stuff, and I was like, that's awesome. So that's my experience with you know, with the Legion. You know, there's a lot of, I guess, kind of a little bit of a rivalry with like the Legion, the VFW, and whatnot. So like, there's that. You know, and especially when you get up to higher echelons, they get involved with like a lot of politics when it comes to veterans, you know, rights and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
But
listen, my buddy Chuck, all right, he's mid-50s, he's retired, and he quickly found out through retirement that yeah, you could have all the material things in the world, you could have all the money in the world, you could get that 100% or 90% or whatever you got. But man, it gets fucking lonely when you're sitting at home and everybody else is at work.
You got all these toys and nobody wants to play with me.
Nobody to play with them, right? So he found the Legion, and he got really involved in the Legion. He's a motorcycle rider, so he got involved in the Legion Riders. You know, and that's where he goes. If he gets lonely in the middle of the day, he goes up to the Legion. Right? Him and his buddies, they go on bike rides. They go, listen, I think every quarter, like 4 times a year, they go on a trip. They went to the Blue Ridge Mountains, right? They've been to Georgia. They've rode through Florida. And I tell you, I mean, he loves it. He absolutely loves it, man. And I mean, there's a complete and totally different, he's a different person when he can't go to the lodge. He's a different person when he can't go on his bike rides with his buddies.
Yeah.
Because he's lonely, depressed, and he's fucking ornery. You want to talk about a good somebody that would be fun to get on here, Chuck, man. We need to get Chuck on here, buddy.
That'd be cool to talk. I think we could make that happen.
Yeah.
So my last question I wanted to ask. I had it and I just lost it. Damn it! I hate when I do that.
That's okay.
Cheated.
Do you want me to talk about you some more? There, sweet cheese.
This is why I say to Mac, like, quite often, I think he might have ADHD too.
He just doesn't show it.
He just doesn't show it as well.
Why would you ever think that Mac has ADHD?
Would you two clowns stop ganging up on me, you twats? You twats.
So I do want to say, and I know you're like, you've talked more than I have, and I'm the host.
No, that's fine. Listen,
Right.
that's actually one of the
Hey, that's
nice
what we're
things
here
about
for.
having somebody on. It's like, yeah, go ahead and talk. I'll just kick
Yeah.
back and look at board like,
All right.
yeah.
I do want to talk more about Mac though, really quick again, and I'm going to reiterate how much time. Listen, I want to reiterate how much time Mac gave to me. Right? How many hours that he spent riding around, cruising around, checking up on me. I've had 4 back surgeries, guys. 4 back surgeries, knee surgery, hand surgeries. With the exception of the hand surgeries, and listen, we're not going to go to why I had hand surgeries. I rub a lot, okay? But after
Nice.
you finally got there, there you go.
Was that correcting that carpal tunnel there, right?
Yeah. Listen,
that right
after
there, folks,
every-
is a good example of the ribbing that we're doing. Ribbing right
Mhm.
there. Yeah, that's what we do.
after every surgery, like I said, with the exception of the hand surgery that took place in Georgia, Mac was always like, hey, buddy, how you doing, man? Do you need anything? Can I help you with anything? Offered to work. If you would have, I would have probably taken him up on it.
Wow.
But the point is, like he looked after me, and I reciprocate. I do the same thing, right? And the young crotchety bastard that I was just talking about, Chuck, the old cannon cocker, do the same thing with him. Almost every single day, I give him a call. I'm like, "What are you doing, dude?" I know when he can't get to the lodge, he's cranky as shit. And I'm like, "What are you doing? Get your ass out of bed. Get your ass out of the couch. Go chase your fucking chickens around the yard." You know. But I'm, it's just, again, man, it's really easy to just mute somebody's text. Yeah, you don't have to pick up the phone either, but if you're lonely, you'll pick up that phone.
Yeah.
All right. But I tell you, Mac, man, I appreciate the shit out of you. All right. You all through school, Mac edited my papers for me. All right. After you write 50
Very
page
much true.
20, 30, 50-page paper and your eyes are crossed because you stared at a computer for 2 weeks straight and you think you've got all the freaking grammatical errors gone, and Grammarly says you still have or you've gotten all the grammatical errors. Mac still found grammatical errors.
I remember that very, very distinctly because I'd be sitting here and I'm reading through the paper and I'm like, I'm going to read this out loud. You tell me what you were trying to say, and I'll try to make some sense of it. How about that? So, okay, I'll say this. Like, I'm going to talk about my grandfather again. He was, besides my dad. My dad was in the military. My grandfather was. He was in World War II, and even though he had a high school diploma, he never went to college, but I mean, the guy was super smart. He had a voracious reading appetite. He was always had a book in his hand. He did the Dale Carnegie course like a bunch of damn times. He was like, he's the one that told me, you're 18, you're out of high school, you're going to read this book and we're going to talk about it. And I had to read the Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he's like, and that was his thing. He's like, you're going to read this. So read it. And you're going to like download this stuff on me. But I mean, he was very giving of his time. He had a lot of, different things that he did to, make himself successful. He owned several businesses. He had a lot of accomplishments and whatnot. And the thing that stuck with me is, when he passed, I was in high school. I think I was a sophomore in high school. I think it was 99 or something like that. 98, I believe. I remember being at his wake, and somebody who I don't know to this day who this person was, he walked up and he's like, are you one of Jim's grandsons? And I'm like, yes, sir. He goes, well, I know Jim raised good boys, and those boys raised their sons right. So I want to shake your hand. And I was like, I don't fucking know this guy from Tom, Dick, or Harry. and that made such a profound influence on me. You know, the one thing you can give somebody that doesn't cost anything that you can't expect back is your time.
Yeah,
And that's and I don't remember I do remember kind of hearing that concept in school, you know, probably in like an English class or some kind of reading or whatnot, but like it kind of stuck with me. And it's like, if I didn't give a shit, I'm just kind of person. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm not gonna go out of my way to be a bad person, but I'm just gonna be like, okay, coll you're gonna go this way, and I'm gonna namaste the fuck away from you. So that kind of thing. So I appreciate your kind words, even though they're making me very uncomfortable because I'm just like, oh no, it's
Well, you're good. Hey, you know what, man? And listen, hey, Alamo too, man. Chime in here. But how did we treat each other when not just deployed, man, but how did we treat each other when we wore the uniform? Right, especially if you're a good NCO, like, or even a good E4.
Yeah.
Like, you took care of your troops, man.
Yeah.
You took care of your buddies. You made
had
sure
to watch out for each
you
other.
could. Yes, you did. You never ever. I tell you, man. You want to get me going? Like, you never said something for failure.
Nope.
Well, gotta. There's at some points people do have to learn from their mistakes, but on the other side of that too, like you don't watch a train wreck. You try to prevent it.
Yeah.
Right? You're there to mentor. You're there to help, especially when somebody's eggs are fucking scrambled because, they're a nervous wreck because they're new, but and that's another reason why I wanted to talk today and be on this because Mac, that's what you did, man. Right? You exhibited amazing leadership qualities, amazing friendship qualities. Right? I mean, and he's B red. Look at him, he's B red.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you did, right? But I mean, I think that's kind of what I would expect from a really good friend. Right? I would expect that from a really good friend. And how many times do we check each other? When I need to be checked, you check me. Like, hey.
Oh, and we do that back and forth because there's times like, hey, buddy, listen, you got a little shitty, and we need to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what we do. I mean,
right. It's part of it, man. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's like, and here's the thing that is more profound than the Brotherhood. It's like it's the example it sets for our kids. My daughter sees me like, Alamo, we were over at your place a couple weekends ago, and like seeing you with your boys and being around, people, good people like yourself and your wife are just fantastic people, and like a chance for her to be around just people outside of her normal circle and to see like leadership in action and just the good example of nurturing people and just positivity and all that stuff. And I mean, how she calls both you guys uncle, Uncle Brian's Uncle Macho and all that shit. And it's like that's like the highest form of like compliment and respect that she can pay you guys, because like she's accepting you guys that I consider brothers as part of her family. It's like I would hope to God if she ever has an issue that she does not feel comfortable talking to me about, she's going to call one of you guys or get in touch with one of you guys or something. Like she knows, like she's got it pretty good. I mean, between you guys, we got Jose. I got a good friend of mine from like I picked up my buddy Kevin because he was in town last week. She's like, do you think, because Kevin's been bowling since he was in like high school, like, and before that, like he's been bowling his whole damn life. She's like, do you think Mr. Kevin can like show me how to bowl better? I'm like, I think he would jump at that chance, kid. Yeah, you need to learn how to take an engine apart, covered. You need to learn how to do something, with outdoor stuff, covered. You need to learn how to bowl, got it. You need to learn how, and Jose taught her how to shoot. So it's like, but that's cool, man. It's like you got those you guys aren't. I used to consider it like extended family, but extended family is still family. So why call it extended? You guys have just kind of assimilated into my familial life and everything like that. And it's that brotherhood, man. Like Alamo and you and I didn't ever serve. We've known each other longer than we were in the Army. We've known each other in high school. Brian, you and I met in the Army. It's like, you got these guys like Jose and I never spent a day in the military together, but we're freaking so tight and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's like you get the four of us together, no good's gonna come from that. Like, it's gonna be awesome and dreadful at the same time. It's like, this was great. Where did it go wrong? Hey, you're a cop. Can you get us out on bail any faster? That'd be great. No, again, man, I appreciate you saying those words. It's as uncomfortable as it is for me to be recognized for that. I do appreciate it because you wouldn't say that, without sincerity. So thank you very much for saying that.
If he didn't mean it, he wouldn't say it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to swallow my pride here a little bit. Just be like, okay, take my humble pill again. But no, and it's like, especially like Brian, like I was saying earlier, with like the whole professional thing, talking about that, like, look at how similar we are, not only with like our conversations about shit, dude, like one time out of every three, when I'm explaining some like point of discussion with my daughter, you end up getting used as an example of something. She's like, well, people don't need to argue. I'm like, oh, you do? Brian and I argue all the time. We just do it in a certain way where we don't get mad. We can disagree and we explain ourselves, and we're like, didn't think about it that way. All right, cool. You want to get a cannoli?
Sometimes we get loud, but it doesn't mean we're yelling.
Right.
All right, we're done talking. You want to get a cannoli? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Let's go get a cannoli. Oh, dear God.
Hey, Brian, we're by Ybor.
Oh, boy.
So we get a cannoli? All right, let's go.
Yeah, all right.
Did somebody mention the castle?
Listen, dude, you need to bring your happy ass over here. We'll go, man. Especially we'll go on to German techno nights. That's what we do. This would be great.
It's like prolonged exposure therapy for me, man.
Yeah, right.
Zeitgeist.
Oh boy.
They don't know that. They don't know that. So.
Oh man.
Brian, did you have anything else you want to add to our discussion tonight, my bud?
Yeah, I do, man. Listen, I really hope that the listeners listen to what I said and listen to my message of thinking about who you served with and wondering what they're doing right now, how their life is, what they've been up to, whether or not they're healthy. Especially those guys maybe that you maybe weren't so nice to, or that you picked on, right? Or the guys that they didn't have a really good time in the military, because there's a lot of guys that were socially awkward before they went in, and they're even more socially awkward when they were in, because they got picked on. They didn't understand what ribbing was, and those are the guys that are in trouble for committing suicide. Those are the guys that are at risk, right? Because they didn't experience the brotherhood like we have. All right. So, and I'm going to propose a question for you to think about, for the listeners to think about. Whose life do you want to save? Whose life do you want to save tonight? Whose life do you want to save tomorrow? That's a really good question I want you to think about.
Ooh.
Right? Whose life do you want to save? Whose life do you want to make a difference in? Right? It's heavy, amazing, man. What happens when we start communicating with other people and helping other people. It greatly benefits us as well. It's a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When we start helping people, I think it makes us feel good about ourselves. Right? So I think that's my dad talk, buddy. I gave a dad talk tonight.
Instead of a TED talk, you got the dad talk. Nice. Yes. That's great. Yep. Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. And one of your listeners, listen, I get it. They're like, fuck your feelings. I get you. I know. I get you. I'm a fucking therapist. I wasn't like this 20 years ago. I was really freaking hard. Not so much. But No, but
Somebody say hard.
no, but listen again. Whose life you gonna save, man? Right? Who can you be there for? Just think about it.
Yeah.
Maybe
For
give it a
sure.
little bit of time up, especially if you're collecting that check and you're sitting on your ass on the couch and you're eating fucking potato chips all day. Do something with your life.
Hey, there's something wrong with eating potato chips, don't you know?
Oh dear God. All right. My phone literally feels like it's gonna explode.
Okay, so we're gonna put you in the back. We're gonna put you backstage, dude. We're gonna
buddy.
cut the feed here. Feel free to hang out. We'll get back with you when we finish wrap up the show. But thanks so much for being on tonight, brother. We appreciate it. And
All right, thanks for letting me
we'll be back in a minute. All right.
spread my message. All right. You see y'all later. Be
Here
good.
we-
Spread
a
the
life.
message. Save a life.
Today. Save a life.
Save a life. Do it.
Yeah.
I like it. Good stuff. All right, we'll be right back, dude. Don't blow up your phone. Spread the message.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was gonna say something else, but it's probably not appropriate, so I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I was like, "Oh yeah,
Hey,
not a good
we
thing."
can still get canceled.
Jesus.
So this has been our discussion on Brotherhood. It's a little bit different than what we normally do. We normally do a bunch of research and look up articles and stuff, but I figured it would that's the word I was looking for, kind of a testimonial talking about Brotherhood from a good and near friend of ours who has just been there for me personally, no matter what. He's also been here for the show, given a lot of times he's given us kind of some direction when we were like, what are we going to talk about? And he's like, ooh, try this. And we're like, ooh, that's good. Yeah, we'll use that. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, Duffman. All right.
Oh yeah. Duffman is thrusting in the direction of the problem. Oh yeah.
Oh shit, that's great.
I freaking love that character.
So thanks everybody for listening to our conversation. We're gonna start wrapping up like we always do, and get ready to head out for the evening. As you mentioned earlier in the show, Alamo and I have known each other since high school. We were 3 years apart. He was a freshman and I was in my senior year. We kind of became friends pretty quick. We were in ROTC together and just kind of hit it off pretty well. And stayed in touch after high school. And now we're looking at 23 and a half, 24 years of friendship and shenanigans.
24 years.
And shenanigans and hijinks and all this dumb, stupid taste. It's like, oh, you remember when we were here? We did that. Yeah, that's awesome. Remember when we did this? We freaking sprayed silly string out the car at the red light. Hey, do you remember when we did this?
Remember when
it was awesome.
I ran like the T-1000 and jumped onto your hood?
Dude, that was scary as shit, man. I told him my daughter, she just sitting there going, she's laughing her ass off. Dude, I can see him doing that. I'm like, yeah, I saw it live. Holy shit.
Like literally.
That's all you saw was just, oh my God. Boom.
All I remember is seeing you.
Kind of oh! Yeah, I was like, this is not real. So we've been very fortunate. We've been friends for a long time. After we both got out of the military, we ended up working together at a retail store in the firearms business here in Tampa, which was great. We had a good friend of ours named John, who also worked with us. And John was one of those guys, man, you had to be around John and experience John. Like, I can't describe him to the degree necessary. John cannot be described. He had to have been experienced, right? He was just that kind of soul where he'd be like, bro, nice. Like, just his mannerisms were just so unique and distinct. They were fucking awesome, right? So we all kind of left there. We went our separate ways. And then several years back, I got approached by Alamo here to volunteer some time to help with an event for his wife's channel. If you haven't heard us mention it before, check out flipsidementorship.com. They have a wonderful thing going on over there for the kids and whatnot. It is definitely, good people doing great things. What is the damn motto again?
Changing tomorrow today.
Changing tomorrow today. Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. It's good stuff. Check it out, flipsidementorship.com. I got approached by Tish and Alamo to work an event, and we had such a blast doing it. Alamo was like, dude, we have got to get the band back together. Like, holy shit. Let's do something. What do you want to do? We do podcasts. I don't know anything about a podcast. Dude, they put a freaking monkey in space. How hard can it be? Ooh, yeah. Those are good facts. Solid facts. Good points. So we talked about that. Well, I was on Facebook one day and I found somebody who is a friend of John's and spoke about John in the past tense. So I reached out to them and I found out that John had solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution and he committed suicide. So I reached out to Alamo. I was like, hey, man, did you hear about John? And he's like, no, I got to reach out to him for his birthday. But thanks for reminding me. I'm like, you can't because he's gone. And that was a hard conversation to have because this was somebody that I knew personally. And it's just like, fuck. So after having that conversation, I was like, dude, we were talking about doing something together. I was like, the podcast thing? He's like, yeah. I was like, I'm in. This is my start point. This is the sign that I needed. Let's do this. So we talked about what we wanted to do, and it kind of became clear pretty quickly like what we wanted to do. We want to talk about like suicide prevention and like, you know, the veteran community and like, you know, solving this bullshit right here, the 22 a day problem.
Yeah.
On average, 22 people a day or 22 veterans a day are committing suicide, and it's too many. And even when you know one of those names, it sucks a lot worse, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on.
It's okay. The wetting of the whistle is
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So we kind of came up with the name, you know, talking about, you know, battle buddies and the fact that I consider him like a brother. So Battle Bros. That was your idea, and it's either you or your wife's idea, and it stuck pretty good. I was like, yeah, that sounds great.
All credit goes to Household 6.
That's the right answer, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the right answer. Good for you. Good for you. Let me pull the string in your back and say it again. Not really. Anyway. So as part of that, we kind of wanted to come up with something that we could use to help people. So we came up with the idea of the Battle Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is it's a 4-part, you know, 4 pillars of the code that you can use to kind of remember to keep yourself around and keep yourself in the fight. So if you can remember the letters BROS, you know, we're infantry guys, so we got to kind of keep things simple, stupid, simple. So that's what we do. So if you can remember these, you're going to be good. So just remember these. So let's go through them. Number 1, be tenacious. No matter what you choose to do in life, do it to the fullest and utmost of your abilities. Whether it's, you know, being a soldier, being a member of the armed forces, being a postman, being a teacher, being a therapist, being a parent. No matter what your chosen profession or calling is, dedicate yourself to it and do it to the best of your abilities. You know, don't just try to skate through and do don't do the Jeep method, just enough experience to pass. Don't do that. Go out there and do it with you know, panache and gusto and all that kind of stuff. In the immortal words of the immortal Ron Swanson, don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. Be tenacious, whole-ass 1 thing. R, refuse to surrender. In the path of life, you're going to come across a lot of things that kind of are going to come up that are going to make you feel like quitting. They're going to knock you down. They're going to, you know, get mud on your face, kicking your can all over the place. Just remember to say, we will rock you. Nice, nice. That was subtle. You started to. That's so good. Love it. You picked up what I threw down. Love it. Yes.
Buddy, you're a boy.
Why am I?
Make
You're
a
my
big
dude.
noise.
Why you're my dude. Just remember when on those days where you feel like nothing can go right and you just feel like quitting because you got your dick knocked in the dirt. You're just like, why am I doing this? Just remember to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep striving. Keep trying to achieve what you're setting out to accomplish. Okay. There's
And
no.
don't let your dingle dangle in the dirt.
Can we put that on a shirt, please? Oh my God. Let's get that on it. Talk to your contact. Let's make that into a shirt. That's fantastic.
Offline, I'm gonna tell you a story. It's actually a true story.
All right.
Pretty rough.
But yeah, whenever you have to, it's okay to stumble. It's okay to fall. It's okay to fail. But as long as you don't quit, you're going to be good. So just remember, refuse to surrender. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Going along with the last pillar of the code. Obstacles come in all shapes and sizes and all different forms. It could be something physical. It could be something mental, psychological. It could be a lot of different things. It could be emotional. That's okay. If sometimes you have to get a little creative and sidestepping some landmines or some obstacles or whatnot. Sometimes it's taking a detour. You do that on the way to work when there's construction. Okay. It's an obstacle. You just obliterate it. You got around the damn thing. You didn't let it slow you down. Great. Move on. Keep going. Sometimes you got to be a little bit more creative. Sometimes you got to go down, cut through the wood line, go a half mile down the path, get back out to the main route, and keep going. Sometimes you got to breach some stuff. You got to knock a wall down. Sometimes you got to go around it. You got to dig a tunnel under it. You got to, swim through the moat of the castle so you can storm the castle. Sometimes you got to breach some shit with some C4 and Bangalores, and sometimes hell, you just may have to drive an armored vehicle into the back of it. Not saying anything bad. We're idiots. Oh my God, we're idiots. Jesus. Whatever it looks like, man. Don't let it stop you. Keep striving to hit that OBJ, to hit the X, and accomplish the mission. Okay, obliterate your obstacles. S, probably the most important pillar is to seek out help in a time of need. As we've talked about earlier tonight with Brian giving his testimonial about times that he needed somebody. I happen to be the guy that was there. It's still weird to hear somebody talk about you in that manner. Like, I know I've done that. I don't want to bring praise to it because it's what you do. It's not something I'm doing for attention or for like accolade. It's
because you don't think about it. You don't think about it when you do it. You just do it.
I just do it. You just something you do for a friend, for a brother, and all that stuff. So
it's the same thing like when the story I told you about trying to help Doc when he was having a rough time, and I granted I wasn't able to, because he lives in a completely different state. Obviously, I'm not able to go and visit him, but I did what I had to freaking hopefully keep him from making a permanent
He's
decision.
the one in Louisiana?
No, we're talking. I'm Doc Roscoe. Doc Carrasco, aka Roscoe.
Gotcha.
He was in, I believe, Virginia for a little bit.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we talked about earlier tonight, there's times when we need help, and that's okay. When you realize that, you don't have to go through it alone. We are social creatures by design. We're very similar.
Yeah.
We're like primates. We do better in a group. If we're by ourselves, then it kind of tends to mess a lot of things up. But if you feel like you're in a bad spot and you feel like you're going to hurt yourself, please don't. Just fucking don't. Okay.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're going to hurt yourself or you need somebody to talk to and you don't have somebody you can reach out to, aka a family member, a friend, a coworker, a confidant, somebody you served with that you're still tight with from the military. If you don't have somebody that falls into one of those categories and you need help, there are options out there. If you feel like you're going to harm yourself, there is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can call them one of a couple different ways. The first is the 800 number. It's 1-800-273-8255. Again, it's 1-800-273-8255, or just the last four numbers. You can just dial TALK, Tango Alpha Lima Kilo, 1-800-273-TALK. You can also dial 988. Again, that's 988. And I think that's kind of more for folks that have the, a cellular device, so they can kind of stay up with the times or whatnot. Either which way, you can call them. You're going to press option 1 to talk to a live operator on the line. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are trained to handle somebody that is going through crisis, to give you some assistance and help. We're trying to stop that 22 a day figure. Okay, that's just too many people. We need to get that. We need to get that to stop. All right. So you deserve to be here. You deserve to have your story told. You deserve to have somebody talk about you. And I know we say it's corny stuff, but to have a little kid come up and say thank you for your service, like the first time, it's like, it's kind of fucking awesome. It's like you deserve to get that. So if you can remember those 4 things: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need, you are going to have a better than not chance of getting through what you're going through and making it to the next day. So please remember those. That's kind of why we came up with that. There's too many guys that are losing that battle within, and we need your help winning the war. So, yeah. At this point, I'm going to pass it off to Chucklehead over here, and he is going to wrap up the show, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. So,
Huey,
take it away, man.
If you want to catch up with us on social media, there are multiple places you could do that. You can catch up with us on Facebook at facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. You can also catch us on the other Meta platform, which is in the Instagram at battlebros_podcast. You can also catch us on the X, formerly known as Twitter, at battlebrospc. On each one of those, you can actually instant message us, and you can send us, show ideas, comments on how we did on one episode, all that good stuff.
Hey, that smooth brother who's Hispanic is awesome, but the guy with the large ass head scares children.
Ooh.
Before you send that, we've already gotten that one. We know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Let's try to keep it constructive. Thank you. As you were.
If you feel as if there is something a little bit too personal, like if you feel like there's someone that you're trying to communicate for, or yourself or family member, whatever, and you don't really feel like putting their business out there on an instant messaging platform, there is an option for you guys to actually send an email to. That is our Gmail. You can go to our Gmail at battlebrospc@gmail.com. That is battlebrospc@gmail.com. And you can go ahead and send us a private message, that's going to be visible to pretty much only me and Mac. And you'll be able to let us know, like, hey, I've got somebody that's not feeling too good, blah, da, 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 da. Or it could just be, I'm not doing too well. Is there some advice you guys have? Whatever, something. We're monitoring every single one of those platforms, and we do appreciate it when we have people that are interactive and kind of sending us messages, because it lets us know that, hey, we're doing something. We're doing something right. If you want to catch us anywhere else, we have multiple options for you. You can catch us on the Rumble at rumble.com. All you got to do is search the word Battle Bros, all one word, all lowercase. That is Battle Bros, all one word, all lowercase, on the Rumble search bar, and you'll find all of our episodes that are currently uploaded. You can also catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and any other platform of your preference. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Huey.
So again, thanks to everybody for stopping by and for taking part in our conversation, giving it a look and or listen. Special shout out to our good friend Brian for coming on and making me uncomfortable for the last hour and a half. Appreciate that as always. But very much importantly, thank you for your testimonial, giving us some contextual information and perspective on Brotherhood. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for coming on the show again. Also, a special shout out to War Daddy for being in the comments like always. Good to see you again, brother. Love you, man. And that's all I got. So this has been episode 106 entitled Brotherhood of the Battle Bros podcast. We will not be on next week, which is going to be April 11th. Alamo will be out of town for a work trip. And it's a business trip at his new job. So we're super thrilled about that. It's just not going to work out because of a busy schedule with him. So we're not going to have the stress of doing a show. So we'll be taking a week sabbatical, but we will be back on April 18th with our next topic, show, or interview. Don't know yet. We got 2 weeks to figure it out. So we thank you for stopping by. This has been, as always, this has been the Battle Bros podcast with myself, Mac, and my co-host Alamo. Thank you so much for stopping by. And just remember, folks, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of, my fingers are all messed up. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I can't count. Obliterate your obstacles. Seek out help in a time of need. And if you can remember those 4 things, you're going to have a good shot of making it through whatever you're going through. So remember that and apply it in your life. And just remember, save a life today, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. And we appreciate you stopping by.
Battle Bros out.